we all are on the same page?
Yes, sure. You have Mr. Suhail Patel with you. You have Mr. Ramanna CV with you. And you have Mr. Lucas Wang with you.
All right, Lucas, I can see. Suhail, definitely I can see. And yeah, hi. And so what was the second name you said? So
Mr. Suhail Patel, Mr. Anna, and Mr. Lucas Wang.
Mr. Anna, not able to see. I mean, I don't know. So,
Mr. Gupta, I think you can refer the agenda on screen as well.
All right, that's even better. That's even better.
But the agenda is also shared with you on WhatsApp.
Yeah, I've seen the agenda. Yeah, I've seen the agenda.
Yes.
Mr. Ramanan is there from Thermax.
Yeah, perfect. So Mr. Sinha, I think could not join this webinar. Am I correct?
Correct.
Yes, sir.
All right. Perfect. So, so of course, we'll be talking about the industry's challenges, what we are facing, and I would also I would like to touch upon the fine points of what technological innovations, we should really be addressing to. I mean, that is one important thing. So I think you guys must have discussed, but let me just quickly say, we'll for around 15 minutes, we'll try to touch upon the issues, which are surrounding us. And then probably last 5 minutes, we'll put it for question answers. Will that be broadly okay?
Yes, sir. Very much.
Yeah. Anything else which we would like to touch upon here?
As discussed with you on the telephone. Please, sir, please go ahead.
Yeah.
I think Lucas's screen is not visible. So Lucas.
It's not visible?
No, I think something's happened. I can't see you.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah, Lucas.
How about now?
Yeah, we got it.
All right. Okay. I don't know how to operate. First time to join this.
Yeah, but your image is quite fresh. Welcome.
Thank you so much. All right.
Great. And Sangeeta, I think during the conference, during the discussion, could you also let us know how many people are there listening, so that then, we can understand how many guys are there all around.
Surely, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Gupta, you would be able to see the participants on the screen directly.
Yes.
They start to join in.
Oh, yeah, I understand.
Yeah. All right. And also, I think we'll be running a lot of polls during the session.
Okay.
To give you a good perspective from the audience as to what they think. We'll also be, first getting in a complete idea on the kind of profile of companies who are present in this webinar. So, so I think technology makes it easy for all of us right now.
Yeah, and I think I don't know about everybody, but at least some of us has learned the hard way. So typically, this is so this is the norm today, and of course, the way I see, probably 1st of June, most of the part of India would open up. So, so we have to get back to work now. That's eagerly waited.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, our job actually, already starts.
Yes.
Yeah, like what we are doing right now.
Okay. So, I think we'll connect you separately. We are almost there time-wise. To understand the ground reality, how things are happening there.
All right. So I think we just begin in 1 minute.
Yeah, and Sangeeta, if you can just put on the schedule once again so that we'll be all on the same page.
And also one last thing, in case you're not speaking, just keep your microphone off. So there's disturbances while the other person speaks.
Minimizes, yes.
All right, I think we can go live now. It's 4 o'clock.
Going live now.
All right. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. A lot of people are joining in. Welcome to an exciting webinar on new age solutions for new age rooftop solutions for the CNI sector, smart inverters with intelligent monitoring. So I think it's an interesting session. I see a lot of people are still joining in. We have a lot planned on today's webinar. We're joined in by some expert speakers from various installers. I think one thing for definitely as installers that now we're getting used to is the entire digital economy, the entire digital interaction that we have. So I think first definitely the interaction takes a major shift on how we interact with our consumers. But besides that, I think it's very important to understand in the post-COVID era, how are we really delivering value to the CNI sector? A lot of end users have always been concerned about the value creation or the ROI. So I think with this, the whole idea of coming out with this webinar is to have a broad outlook on what are these new age rooftop solutions. We are thankful to our partner Growatt, who is showcasing its technology. In fact, if I'm not wrong, my colleagues from Growatt could correct me, but I think Growatt has entered the Indian market about 8 to 9 years ago. They've very rapidly captured the Indian market, expanded their service network in India. I think it's about 18 to 19%, if I'm not wrong. So I think that's a great network, a great set of solutions that they've given to the Indian sector. I'm sure that going forward you'll all be exposed to more and more innovation that Growatt has been doing in India. But before we move ahead, I think it's important that for our panelists we quickly get a very nice overview of the kind of profile of people that are joining this webinar. So I'm running a quick poll in front of you. Let's see what profiles do we represent. Right, another 5 more seconds, then we close the poll. All right, so here are the results. I think we have a lot of EPCs who've joined us. We have a lot of consultants, developers as well. So I think to our panelists, this gives a good feel of who our audience is. I'm sure that a lot of other people were also trying to vote, but I have to be quick on this. Okay. Let's see if our audiences have used Growatt products before. Okay. So, Rukas, Shantanu, I am sure that these are interesting facts for you to build upon. Great. Okay. So, just to to keep this very interactive, we have 2 presentations which are lined up. We have 2 very innovative thought leadership sessions. We have a spokesperson joining in from Wari, from Canody Energy, from Thermax, from Reddington, from Roofsol. So I think it's going to be a very interactive session. All of you can see the agenda on your screen, and we're going to keep it as interactive as possible. So whatever question you have a chat box where you can write in your questions, and we'll try and include them all in our panel discussion. Okay, so I think with this, we are ready to move on to the first leg of the webinar, for which I would introduce Mr. Shantanu, who's the technical head of Growatt, to take over the screen and run us through Growatt journey in India and what it has in store. Shantanu, over to you. Shantanu, you have to unmute yourself. Shantanu, can you unmute yourself?
Okay.
Yeah.
So good evening, everyone. Myself, Shantanu Shirsat from Growatt. I am the technical head for Indian market, and basically I'm looking after the pre-sales activity for India. And just now I had a look at the poll in which I think more than 60% of the attendees have not used the Growatt product. So this is a good platform for us and for you also to get very much accustomed to Growatt as a company, different products that we are offering for the Indian market. So this is a brief PPT basically regarding the Growatt and its achievement in the last 10 years. So these are the points that I will be covering in this short introduction for Growatt. So starting on with the introduction, Growatt was founded in the year 2010 with a registered capital of 20 million USD. And basically from on that word, we are very much into the manufacturing as well as the R&D of on-grid inverters, off-grid inverters, and storage solutions. We are having a power range in on-grid inverters starting from 1 kilowatt up to 100 kilowatt. And in the off-grid segment, we are having the range starting from 1 kilowatt up to 650 kilowatt. Growatt is having its business spread to more than 110 countries. And by the end of year 2019, we have shipped approximately 1.7 million units worldwide. So with a dream of a green world, Growatt takes the mission of providing the clear and convenient access of green energy to all. Growatt is a customer-focused, quality-focused, and innovative company. With 10 years of development, Growatt is much closer to the vision of becoming a global leader in smart energy solutions. We are also very much concentrated towards our customer support. And for that particular purpose, we are having our service engineer based out in India to all the prominent cities. And worldwide also, if you see, we are having a reach to more than 15 countries worldwide. Talking about our employee strength, to achieve this dream to provide a clean and efficient energy, we are having a team of more than 1,200 employees worldwide. Out of this, we are having more than 200 engineers only for the R&D purpose, out of which, again, this R&D department is bifurcated into 4 different segments, that is on-grid, off-grid, storage, and software. Also for the after sales support, we are having a team of more than 260 employees worldwide. And for the production part and the manufacturing operations, we are having more than 700 employees. So these are the milestones for Growatt. As you know, we were founded in the year 2010 in Shenzhen. In the next subsequent year, that is 2011, Growatt was #1 exporter of on-grid string inverters from China itself. And following the same footstep in 2017, we have reached a milestone of shipping 1 million units worldwide. And for the last 2 consecutive years, as per the IHS market report, we are in the top 3 for the supplier of on-grid inverters in residential segment. You must all be very much familiar with Sequoia Capital. So Sequoia Capital has invested in Growatt in the year 2012. And Growatt is the only energy efficient company in which Sequoia Capital has invested. So these are some honors which I was talking about. This is the latest IHS market report for 2019. And for the last 2 consecutive years, we are ranking #3 in residential market. Also, if you talk about the photovoltaic brand lab report, that is basically for the Chinese market, we are again #1 in the residential segment for inverters less than 20 kilowatt and in top 5 for the overall supply of on-grid inverters. This is the UPD Research Lab certifications that we have obtained. For the last 3 years, we are getting the top PV brand certification for Netherlands and Belgium. And this year, we have got the best inverter brand in Australia also. Coming to the Indian market, as per the Bridge to India report and also the JNF report, we are the #1 for the supplier of on-grid inverters for the Indian market for rooftop segment. And this has been also being finalized by Mercom report that we received last year, in which for the total shipment of inverters in India for solar, we rank #7, as well as for the only string inverter market, we are ranking #2. So in the year 2019, we have shipped around 5 gigawatt of on-grid inverters. And for this year, we are pretty much sure that we will be reaching the target of 7.5 gigawatt. And if you see globally, more than 5 lakh units are working for more than 5 years in the field. So if you look at the overall presence of Growatt in the global market, we are there for 10 years, and around 30 to 40% of our inverters have already crossed their 5 years of normal working, and still they are working fine in the field. These are some of the global partners with which Growatt is associated, and some list of our Indian partners, out of which Redington Photovoltaic Solar, 3S Solutions, and AVI are our major distributors for the Indian market, and all are our EPC partners to whom we have provided our inverters. So talking about the strengths, when we talk about the strength of any company, or basically an electronic company, R&D plays a very vital role. Along with that, the product qualification or the certification for the countries, as well as the manufacturing setup that we are having, and the global presence. So all these 4 factors plays a very vital role for the strength of any company. So talking about the R&D, as I have discussed earlier, we are having more than 200 R&D engineers working in Growatt, out of which 60% of employees are having an experience more than 15 years in the field of power electronics. We are having more than 70 patents to our name, out of which 50 are Chinese patents. We are having 12 international patents and 8 software copyrights. And if you see, every year, Growatt is investing roughly around 10% of its total income only for the R&D purpose. And if you see, all our R&D labs are being certified by Intertech and TUV. Talking about the reliability, in 2018, we had a collaboration with On Semiconductor, who is a provider of basically IGBTs and major electronic components. And we have set up a lab in our head office itself, where we are doing different performance and function tests. Then we are also carrying out environment and reliability tests, and also the checking and the reliability of components at an individual level. So talking about the On Semiconductor, basically it is a Fortune 500 semiconductor company, which was founded in the year 1995. And we are having a collaboration with them for the last 2 years. This is one of the milestones that we have achieved. In 2014, Growatt 20 kilowatt inverter, as per the Photon Lab testing, we have achieved the maximum efficiency of more than 99%. And to be precise, the maximum efficiency was 99.06%. So at that time, Growatt 20 kilowatt inverter was the only inverter in the on-grid segment to have crossed the maximum efficiency of 99.06%. In the Solar Congress that was held last year in China, TUV awarded our Max series, that is specifically Max 80 kilowatt inverter, as the #1 commercial inverter as per their internal testings and everything. And this was the certification that we got from them. Also, we are having the BDW certification for the German market, and Growatt is among the few Asian inverter brands which have got this BDW directive. Talking about the manufacturing center, Right now, we are having an annual production capacity of 5 gigawatt. But in the second half of 2020, we are coming up with a new production facility in China itself, nearby Shenzhen, where we would be extending our production capacity up to 15 gigawatt. But for the normal working, it will be 10 gigawatt per year. And coming back to the certification, Growatt is having more than 30 international certificates to its name as per all the grid regulations of different countries. And if you go for India, we are having all the related IC certificates. Also, we will be among the top 5 inverter brands to whom we will be getting the BI certification. We are almost done with the testing of all the inverters that we have given. And maybe in the month of June, we will be receiving our BI certification along with the number also. Now coming to the solutions. Basically, Growatt is offering its solutions for 3 different segments. The first one is the energy storage. That is the off-grid inverters as well as the hybrid inverters. Then we are having the commercial and industrial as well as the utility solution. And the third one is the residential segment, in which we are providing the range starting from 750 watt up to 15 kilowatt. So I will just briefing regarding the different products that we are offering to you. Coming to the on-grid inverters. So for the residential segment, we are having the range starting from 750 watt up to 15 kilowatt. In this, from 750 to 6 kilowatt, we are offering inverters in single phase, as well as for 3 phase, the range starts from 3 kilowatt up to 15 kilowatt. And when we are coming to the commercial and utility segment, right now we are having the range starting from 20 kilowatt onwards up to 100 kilowatt for the commercial segment. And in the second half of 2020, we are coming up with the 1500 volts inverter in 185 kilowatt, in 250 kilowatt and 253 kilowatt. So I will be discussing this in my next presentation that we are having from the commercial and industrial segment. For the storage inverters, we are having the hybrid inverters as well as the AC coupled solution, which for the single phase, we are having the range starting from 3 kilowatt up to 6 kilowatt. Whereas for the 3 phase, it starts from 4 kilowatt up to 10 kilowatt. Also for the off-grid inverters, we are having different models starting from 3 kilowatt up to 12 kilowatt. Also, we are providing the batteries, lithium-ion batteries if required, along with the battery case. So this is the residential inverters, that is the mean series starting from 2.5 kilowatt up to 6 kilowatt. This is our new generation series that we have launched in India in 2019, that is last year. Along with that, with this inverter brand, we are coming up for the first time in the inverter business with a OLED screen. And to support that, we are providing a touch button, not a conventional push button, but a touch button with a accuracy or a sensitivity of more than 3 lakh clicks. Also, this is the first single phase inverter in the market coming up with type 2 SPDs on DC side for the protection part. Also, if you talk about the efficiency, this inverter has a maximum efficiency of 98.4%, which is again highest in this particular segment. Coming to the commercial and industrial solution, we are having the range starting from 20 kilowatt up to 100 kilowatt. So I will not be going in brief for this particular segment, as I will be covering this in my next presentation. So basically, this is the MAC and the MAC series that we are having for the commercial and industrial solution. Also for the industrial purpose, we are having our smart energy manager. Basically, with this particular data manager or a load manager, it is possible to control the output of the inverter, that is for zero export or for self-consumption. Also, this is a little bit glimpse about our 1500 volt inverter that we are coming up with. So this inverter will be coming in 3 different ranges, that is 185 kilowatt, 250 kilowatt and 253 kilowatt with 9 MPPTs, 12 MPPTs and 15 MPPTs respectively. So the 253 kilowatt inverter will be the first inverter in this particular market, with the highest number of MPPTs, that is 15. Also, these are some of the features of our utility solution. As I have mentioned earlier, this is a 1500 volt inverter with 800 volt AC output, and it will be coming in three different segments, or sorry, three different power ratings with three different MPPT ranges, that is 9, 12, and 15. Also, these inverters can easily support the bifacial modules, that is the upcoming market trend. And along with that, to save the DC cable, we are providing the provision of using Y connector. So all these functions I will be covering in my next segment. And for monitoring, we are having the devices or the solutions for individual monitoring. Also, if you are having a commercial installation or industrial installation, we are having a data logger by the name of Shine Master, with which you can connect maximum up to 64 number of inverters. Also, we are having our own application for monitoring as well as our own portal. And this online application is free for 25 years if you're going with Growatt's online monitoring solution. This is a glimpse of our Shine Phone application and Shine Server portal that we are offering. With the Shine Server portal, I would like to add one thing. At a time, you can access more than 50 parameters related with the inverter on a single screen. And it is possible for you to download all these parameters at a single instant. So this is one additional benefit that you will be getting for your analysis purpose. Coming regarding the reach of Growatt for the global market as well as for the Indian market, I will be starting with the global market. Right now, we are having 14 branch offices and 14 warehouses worldwide. And talking about the India, we are having our service center based out in Hyderabad. And in a short period of time, we'll be coming up with a one more service center in Gujarat. Talking about the Growatt presence in India, as Mr. Vipul has already mentioned that Growatt is in the Indian market for last more than 8 years. And till date, we have shipped more than 80,000 units for Indian market itself, starting from 1 kilowatt up to 100 kilowatt. And talking about the presence of Growatt and the employees, we are having one Indian director, that is Mr. Lucas Wang, who is taking care for the Indian market. To support him, we are having 4 salesperson. Those are based out in different regions of India, like South, North, and Western region. Then we are having 2 product managers to support this 4 salesperson for the pre-sales activities, like for the technical support or for the marketing support. Then we are having 15 service engineers only for the after-sales support. And all these engineers are based in prominent cities of India to support for any inverter-related issues or after-sales support. And talking about our service center, we are having the service center in Hyderabad, where we are having a stock of around 500 kilowatt of service spares as well as inverters for the replacement purpose. These are some of the media partners with which Growatt is associated. And talking about the service and training, we are also providing customized training for the end customers as per their requirement. This training can be indoor or the on-site training also we are providing with the help of our service engineers. And also to support the after-sales requirement, we are having a hotline number which is available for 24/7. Basically, if you see about the global training, we are also having our online smart service portal with which the installer and the distributor can directly monitor or manage all their plants that are being installed under their name. As well as I have mentioned earlier, we are providing the operation and maintenance training also on site with the help of our service engineers. Also, we have started last year the Shine Light program, with which in different cities of India, we are conducting different type of training programs as well as seminars, as well as launch of Growatt products. This is a glimpse of our online smart service. This will be, I will be discussing majorly in the CNI segment presentation that I am having afterwards. These are some of the training photos that we have conducted globally. And the Shiny Light program. For India, we have conducted right now only in 2 cities, that is Mumbai and Ahmedabad. And this year we are planning to conduct in more 6 cities. But let's see how this COVID pandemic takes the course. And depending on that, then we will be going ahead with that. And these are some of the global and some Indian references with Growatt installation. This is a 100 megawatt plant in China with a 40 kilowatt string inverter. Also a 90 megawatt solar farm with a 20 kilowatt inverter in Thailand for EA. Again, a 50 megawatt plant with Growatt 40 kilowatt inverter in China. Again, this is with a Max 60 new series for a 10 megawatt plant in China again. This is a 5.5 megawatt by Kirloskar in India, Kolhapur, with our 60 kilowatt inverter. 4 megawatt plant in Hyderabad with 200 numbers of 20 kilowatt. This was our first installation with Max inverter in Delhi in 2018 for 80 kilowatt. Again, a 500 kilowatt installation at IIT Hyderabad with our Max series. For Forbes India in Aurangabad, 1 megawatt installation. So globally, by the end of year 2019, we have shipped approximately more than 70 gigawatt solar on-grid inverters. And talking about the off-grid inverters or the storage, we have shipped around more than 50,000 units worldwide. So talking about the residential segment in which we are having a good hold, we have shipped 1.2 million units only for the residential segment worldwide. So thank you very much. This was just a brief about Growatt. So maybe most of the people who have not used our inverter or were not acquainted with Growatt will get a very good insight about Growatt as a company and the different products that we are offering worldwide and also for the Indian market. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shantanu. Thank you for the insights. Now proceeding ahead with the next session. Before we proceed with the next session, I would like to quickly launch a poll. Seconds. I'm going to close the poll now. I can still see audience voting. Okay, so we have 15% who have agreed with the market share, and that's the right answer. Now, proceeding ahead, we would be having fire chat session with all the eminent speakers with us, starting with Mr. Sanjay Gupta from Head EPC Wari Energies, who will be moderator for the session. Mr. Sohail Patel, Head Distributed Projects, Canada Solar. Mr. Ramanna CV, Head Solar Business Thermax Limited. Mr. Rukus Van, General Manager Asia Pacific Growatt. They would be talking on solar rooftop technology, deployment strategies, and opportunities in India. Over to you, sir, Mr. Sanjay Gupta.
Thank you very much, Sangeeta. In fact, I must thank Growatt that insight into their products and the kind of penetration they have in Indian market. And I think this also gives them an opportunity to understand how to take the footprint ahead in Indian market. So thanks very much for this opportunity. I think, and I must quickly introduce our eminent panelists here today. We have Mr. Ramannaji, Head of Solar Business Thermix. We have Mr. Lucas Wang, General Manager Asia Pacific Growatt, and who also heads the India operation. And Sohelji, his Head Distributed Projects, Canada Solar. Thank you very much. I've been given this opportunity to moderate this session. So before we get into the fine points of the technology and the real improvement, let me spend quick 5 minutes or so with the panelists to really understand what are the holdups, or what are the things which further required to be done in the market to really make this segment improve the operations. So let me first quickly put my question to Ramananji. So what in your view is really holding back rooftop segment in India? I mean, a quick word about, how the penetration which it should actually make is not happening. What in your opinion could be the reasons which is really holding back this large potential we are unable to tap?
Thanks, Sanjayji, and thanks Growatt for having organized this webinar. Well, it's quite clear that rooftop segment has been lagging significantly when compared to the grid-mounted one. And in my experience of handling rooftops across pan-India, one of the major impediment in proliferation of rooftop has been the reluctance of individual state authorities, non-clarity with respect to net metering and other policies have been acting as a deterrent. So many times, at least in commercial and industrial sector, they were pretty much unclear. Okay, and recently we had an example of one state electricity regulatory commission coming up with a grid stabilization charges, which was eventually withdrawn, but then that has set back the industry by around 3 or 4 months. I mean, a lot of finalization which was happening that happened to be in a topmost industrialized state, as there has been no policy clarity on them. Now, obviously, if you're going to charge approximately 4 rupees or 4 rupees 50 paisa for any self-generated power, that acts as an impediment. That's number one. Number two, we have seen in the initial rush of solar, a lot of players who have come in, who have installed systems, and I wouldn't vouch that they were great systems, and they had happened to have some amount of distrust whether it will work, whether it is safe enough, and whether it at all delivers the performance that it's been promised during this sales time. Unfortunately, over the last couple of years, that there's been a lot of consolidation in the industry, and things are moving in a certain direction now. So that part of it, industry itself has solved and been quick to adapt to the latest technology, including higher wattage PV panels and the smart inverters and things like that. What I do see also, these are the major two impediments which we are slowly coming up, but then it's dismal. Compared to 40 gigawatt, we are at around, I would say probably around 15% or so, it's dismal. Still, the larger question of proliferated rooftop solution, how will it interact with grid? And whether or not it will contribute to grid stability or instability, there's a lot of fear in the minds of people. Unless and until this addressed, then the embracing of this technology will not be wholehearted. I mean, there'll be a lot of pressure from commercial and industrial sectors, a lot of pressure from solar APC. Of course, the solution is proven also, but then there's a lot of reluctance on the part of the grid managers also. So I think we need to have an open dialogue on it, because in my opinion, the rooftop offers huge potential, and we must find out, and it's not beyond our technical capability to find out a solution as to how the communication happens between a commercial industrial prosumer, if I may use the word, and the grid, and with necessary safety protocols. I think once this threshold, mental threshold is crossed, well, I think sky is the limit for this particular business.
Well, very rightly said. I think right from your heart, I think right on dot. This is, I mean, these are a couple of concern points which I think we need to address. But maybe let me also understand from Sohailji, I mean, what is your perspective? I mean, in the rooftop segment, will the residential segment take the lead, or will it still be the industrial segment which will be the front runner? I mean, before we get to understand the technicalities, I mean, what is your way in Indian market, which probably will be the front runner, and what could be the further additive incentives can be made to the other lagging part to pull it with the same pace? Sohailji, if you'd like to comment on this.
A very good afternoon to all the panelists as well as the attendees. Myself, Sohail Patel from Growatt Energy Systems. And Sanjay ji, a very thoughtful question from your end. According to the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, nearly 51% of the electricity consumption in India is from commercial and industrial segment. So commercial and industrial consumers are the forerunners in driving the economy, as well as they end up paying premium cost on the electricity. May it be the electricity duty, the taxes, or maybe the unit charges. So in a way, if you look at the savings point of view, the CNI customers tend to stand out in saving more rather than the residential customers because of the higher tariffs, as well as if you can see that the CNI customers are also eligible to claim the tax benefits, which may help to bring the payback down. But according to me, the CNI consumers are a bit hesitant at the moment due to rightly pointed out by Ramanan ji that there is no clarity on the ground level in many of the states. Let's say, for example, the maximum rooftop capacity which one can install in most of the states is pegged at 1 megawatt. So anyone which is relatively large, but anyone who has got a larger contract demand or a sanction load may not be able to install more than that due to the technical regularities on the rooftop. Then he may have to go for the open access or captive consumption, and then that may tend to lead on higher charges. So that is one limitation. Secondly is the distributor transformer thing, that most of the discoms have tagged the distributor transformer capacity at 50%, or in some states they have been free up to going up to 90%. So this tends to limit the CNI consumers a lot, because first of all, they have already got their sanction load and they are already paying whatever cost they are doing. They don't want to upgrade their current existing system from the discom. So the CNI consumers are in a wait and watch period as of now. That is why we see a very robust growth in the residential market, mainly due to the subsidy available so that the payback period brings down. Thirdly, I would like to point out that the sanction load also plays an important role, and the time of use. The CNI customers tend to stand out more savings in this segment as well, because whatever electricity is generated during the daytime is first consumed by the premises rather than importing from the grid. So the number of units imported would fall considerably. So CNI, I would see that CNI would be the torch bearer in the coming years in leading this segment of rooftop, because they already have got a pretty much standard space, and they have got the infrastructure, they have got the consumption, and in any business, the electricity cost accounts for 10 to 20% of the overall overheads or the business cash flow. So if we can save on that, it could be a major boost for the CNI customers.
Yeah, I think I also fully agree with you, because I mean, the way you said, because if the delta, the more incentive it is, and that's how it is. And they're the real power guzzlers, so they can be convinced to probably opt for more solar. But I think that is one place, I mean, where the technology would play a very important role. And I would like to hear from Mr. Vikas how, from a product perspective, two aspects, from a product perspective, how we can really push rooftop into residential segment, which is lagging, as was discussed by our panelists. And maybe the same technological innovations in terms of string inverters can be replicated to slightly larger size units also. I mean, I'm talking about a megawatt or plus. So maybe from a technological point of view, from the product innovations point of view, I'd like to understand how your string inverter technology can really help us boost both the residential in the both the rooftop in the residential sector and of course in the commercial segment.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sanjay Gupta. This is really a technical questions, but it's a little hard for me, but I try to understand, based on my experience and, the information that we had, what we discussed, what I learned, from our marketing team, our technical product team, and also, the R&D team, right now, due to the epidemic, definitely no matter, the residential rooftop or commercial rooftop, the business has been greatly, influenced. Still, we have no idea, how long it will take until, the lockdown released. I mean, in terms of, we come back to the product itself, especially for the, no matter for the residential part inverter, all the design is getting, much smaller. How to say, efficiency is getting higher, and we are able to bring down the cost. While the product itself, in terms of quality, in terms of the performance, can be even better. This is for especially for the string inverters, and for the CMI part. Actually, we can see the trend from different suppliers that people we checked history in the last 2 years back. Majority for the CMI projects, what we can see is that only 50 kilowatt. Or even a lot of people still supplying 30 to 40 kilowatt range. And if we check it today, products that we are supplying, or other suppliers, supplying for the CMI projects, then, we can say only the 50 kilowatt is now, it's only the entry level. A lot of people, they are supplying, in terms of kilowatt ratings, it's coming to 100 kilowatts. Like for Growatt, right now, what we are supplying is 80 kilowatt, but we also have, 100 kilowatt with multi-MPPT. And this is in terms of, the kilowatt rating is getting much bigger. And also, people are also, more preferred to have more MPPT, solutions, like, starting from Growatt, from 50, Growatt and Huawei, for 50 kilowatt and above, we're starting with 6 MPPT as standard, or 7 MPPT as standard. Now, more and more companies, they also, intend to supply the inverter with more MPPT. Efficiency side, definitely no need to mention. And I'd say inverter also with much more comprehensive, protections, like even, independent, the SPD part, like Growatt we are supplying. And how to say that? But it's all because your Mr. Sanjay, your question is more on the technical part. So it's a little hard for me, to answer, to introduce all the technical part things. But my team, my technical head, Shantanu, I think he's still on the line. Shantanu, okay. Shantanu, yes, Shantanu, do you have anything to add right here? Hello.
Yeah. Yes, Lucas.
Yeah. So, in terms,
yeah.
Yes, you have something to add here?
Definitely, because when we talk about basically the string inverters, there are major factors that we have to look at when you are going for any selection of what we can say a string inverter. Basically, right now the trend is going of having more number of MPPTs, because as we know, if you are going for any commercial or industrial installation, there are very less possibility to have a single roof with a same orientation. So in this particular scenario, multi-MPPT provides a very good opportunity to have the installations at different angles or different orientations. Also, along with that, with multi-MPPT, as you can see, as we are going increasing the number of MPPTs, the use of fuses we are excluding the use of fuses basically. So again, the additional cost of having a separate junction box is also eliminated, and having the artificial intelligence in terms of monitoring for individual string monitoring. So rightly, it's not required to go to your site every now and then to have the maintenance or the basically the fault the inverter is enduring. So rightly from your desk, you can just run your IV scanning and which particular string is having an issue on your DC side, or if there is any sort of issue on your AC side also, that you can easily identify using the online monitoring portal. So basically the artificial intelligence, if you see, will play a basically very major role, because with the inclusion of AI, the on-site presence of or any human interference will be reduced considerably. So whatever the corrective actions that we have to take, instead of taking those corrective actions from the display of the inverter, it is possibly that the inverter can himself take those corrective actions, or if required, we can assist the inverter directly from our monitoring portal. So these are some of the new technologies that we are trying to incorporate in our upcoming inverters, and some of these we have already incorporated that we are providing for the Indian market from last year. Thank you.
Yeah, very rightly said. Very rightly said. Ramananji, quickly, I want to understand, so you see, I mean, so every time we get into solar rooftop, it's a very, I would say, started getting a tricky subject. But how do you think, what kind of technological innovations could be adapted, by the industry to really take this momentum further? Of course, one we talked about, the smart inverters, what Growatt, but anything else which comes to your mind which can really help steer this process?
I would agree with the Growatt person, what he was mentioning, that no, these systems, even in rooftop, we don't see it as a standalone rooftop systems anymore. They are sort of integrated with their other energy sources in any commercial and industrial facility. In the sense that it needs to talk and understand with, let's say, grid, it's anyway interacting, and with the number of DG sets or other prime movers that are there, and has to sort of have that self-appraisal and self-healing properties is required for it. So any inverter or any technology that we talk about, it has to have an ability to interact with multiple sources and present an optimum solution to C&I. I think this is becoming a very it's gaining a lot of traction in that. And in the sense that we are seeing quite a bit of pickup in this also. The customer is also, a C&I user is also sort of at peace that, no matter what, all energy sources in his facility can talk and modulate among themselves and give him the most optimum solution. I think this is a possibility. And second thing which is very important, which I feel is like, well, we do understand that every manufacturer will have his own sense of protocol through his website and things like that. But then there's a lot of communication which is happening with open source monitoring systems also.
Yes.
So any product that we put in should endear itself to an open source monitoring system also, so that the user experiences the freedom, of the experience the freedom of utilizing this particular feature over a long period to come, around 20, 25 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever we talk about. This is the freedom which he wants. And lot of places where we have also done, we have installed a third party, this thing, which is at times could be integrated with the user's own DCS system or monitoring systems or a third party system also. So a product should have, as he had expounded, and a self-healing property, and the product should have multiple facets to integrate itself with other energy solutions so as to give a continuous experience of a power being produced. And third one, it should allow itself to communicate with open source monitoring systems. I mean, you don't get to control it as much as you do in any thermal power plant or so, but a monitoring system.
Yes.
They have a freedom and peace of mind. These are some of the things which comes to my mind.
Right. So very informative. Correct. Sohelji, quickly, one more time, I would like to come back to you. Yes, so if I have to put in the words, like, what do you think are the three most critical things, which can be really done to improve, I would say, rapid solarization of roofs, or if you, so if, I mean, I'm just keeping the canvas open for you. I mean, do you think is it really policy, or is it really the technological innovations, or is it really the will of the people? I mean, how do you see in your mind, what are the three most critical things which needs to be done to really push this segment of solar projects?
So Sanjay ji, as your first question to Raman ji and myself, we both came up with the same answer that the policy needs to be implemented in such a way, and it needs to be speedily implemented. We live in a country with a federal system where central government makes some guidelines and rules, and the states, they come in and they narrow down the guidelines and the rules to take it further. So we need to have unified rules across all the states. That will help a lot, because a lot of states are having different rules, and that becomes very difficult for people to understand. Some states would not allow independent power IPP models, or some states would encourage RESCO models. Some encourage gross metering, some encourage net metering. Recently, we saw with one state that they wanted to convert all the net metering to gross metering, which would have affected a lot to the CNI customers. So a unified rules and regulations throughout India would help a lot in this segment. Secondly, to have the trust of the end consumers, it's very important. There comes the system components into pictures, especially the inverters, because the inverters are the key components which goes through a lot of maintenance, and that being down, the entire system is down, depending if it's a single standalone inverter, or if multiple units are there, then it can reduce the plant capacity by 25-50%. So the speedy response of the inverter manufacturers or the service providers needs to be there. As Mr. Shantanu presented in his presentation, that they have got a service network, so all the manufacturers need to have and implement this, and the response time needs to be improved. Thirdly, most important is the troubleshooting, as Mr. Ramananji rightly said. The unified simple experience or the user experience needs to be very straightforward. So all the troubleshooting of the inverter should be divided into basic two categories. One is self healing or self starting back to its original working methodology, and second, a service technician needs to be called, and all the service codes needs to be break down into two things. This will help the trust of the end consumers, because in India, the word of mouth is far more greater than any marketing strategy. And if in an industrial zone, if a industrial customer is not happy with seeing five error messages in a day, which are having no significant impact, that is basic due to grid instability or anything like that, that will hamper the growth of that industrial zone becoming solarized. So the word of mouth becomes very important in the Indian segment. So to give that user experience, if the inverter manufacturers or the remote monitoring service providers can basically categorize all the troubleshooting commands into two categories. One where it will self-start or self-mobilize, and second is that you need to call a technician and here's the number or here's the email address. So that helps a lot. Thirdly, what I have seen is that most of the installations in India are grid connected installations. So the moment the grid disconnects, the system is down, the remote monitoring is down, everything is down. We don't know what happened. We don't know the last error message that could have damaged the inverter or the string imbalance or anything like that. So we need to have a uninterrupted power supply with the remote monitoring that needs to have a standby power supply of 4 to 6 hours. This will help us to diagnose any EPC installer or a service provider that what exactly the fault was when the monitoring was down. So that response time can greatly impact. And as Ramananji and Shantanu has focused on the smart PV technology, that the inverter itself will diagnose, and looking at the COVID situation where going onto the field might not be easy. So that can save a lot of time, and we can send the relevant people with the relevant spare parts and solutions to the site, and turn back the site online rather than going onto the big rooftop installations. And so this is very important to gain the trust of the end user, and the government as well as the service provider, the manufacturers need to start Then comes the EPC and the O&M providers. They
Correct.
need to chip in as well. So overall, it becomes a four-pole strategy that
Correct.
will gain the importance of the solarization.
Correct. Yeah. No, so very rightly said. Oh, okay. So I mean, so you see, we have really get into this time. So time is really running out. So there have been very quick and very nice questions, being asked by the attendees. One quick question, which really I think is important. I would request Mr. Rupos to respond to this. So how do you see the growth of smart inverters in long run, in this segment? I mean, what is your view on this? How do you see smart inverters can really make dent into the part of this industry, Mr. Rupos?
Yeah, I feel that's the trend because no matter in terms of the cost, especially because if the in terms of the cost, if the inverter is not smart enough, we take longer time to find out where the reason is, and also after we find out where the reason is, we also take longer time to give the resolution. So the inverter must be smart enough. Like Growatt, our monitoring platform, it's a two-way communications. Recently we see some competitor, they are also trying to promote similar idea. But for Growatt, our system already, it's a monitoring, especially the monitoring platform is already the two-way communications. It makes big sense because two-way communication here means not only for you to download data from the inverter, at the same time, because something like the grid voltage is too high or frequency, this kind of issues, or even some small settings about the inverter itself. Actually, for Growatt, if the inverter is monitored by our platform, we are able to do this job remotely without sending anyone to the site. So this is it will make great sense. Firstly, the efficiency can be improved, and especially like today, this kind of lockdown. Like, if they're either any user, they really got some issues, one call to us, then, with a serial number, we are able to track whether installation and the condition of this inverter, and we are able to do some remote debugging for this inverter to help them resolve the issues. That's the reason, I think a lot of growers, the end user, they already experience this kind of, technology. This is actually what we think in terms of the smart inverter. This is only the starting period, but I think this is quite necessary. No matter to reduce the service cost, to increase the service efficiency, or to guarantee the generation of the project owners, it makes big sense. So that's why for Growatt, and I think for all the manufacturers, this is the trend. If they are able to do a very good job in this site, I believe they can take a very good position, in the future competitions. That's what I feel and what I believe.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yes.
Yeah, please.
Yes. Yeah. Luckily, Growatt, we understand this. We understand the importance. So we start this job already, a few years back. Like, as Chantal already introduced, we have energy storage systems. This is actually, part of the system which can be introduced, or we can say integrated, to the with our inverter systems, not only to monitor, to control, the solar system, but also to intelligently and smartly based on your, habit of, using the energy, so that they're giving you advice and control, all energy consuming units at your home in a very, intelligent way, or something like what we say, artificial intelligence in that kind of way. Because a lot of times when we use the energy, we actually have no idea. Just like people, every day, we are very busy. We don't understand what sort of time has been invested, for certain kind of a job. So, by this kind of system, they can also tell you how to optimize your energy consumption. Right. So this is not only related to inverter, but we take the inverter as the window to enter one home, and then give the house owner or any user an idea how to optimize his, the system, and also how to optimize the energy consumption.
Right. Very right, you said. Very right, sir. Very nicely explained. Thank you very much, Mr. Vikas. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sanjay.
Yeah, I'm really afraid we have ran completely out of time. But there are a lot of good questions, I can see in the question box and in chat box. What I would request all the viewers and all the listeners to just send their queries, and we'll forward the same to our panelists, and maybe we'll respond to them subsequently. So with this, I thank all the panelists, especially Mr. Sohail, Mr. Rukas, Mr. Ramanaji, for their insight, for their thought on the subject. And I wish that we are able to see the rising numbers of Growatt in Indian market. With these few words, I hand it over back to Ms. Sangeeta and take it forward. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sanjay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you,
all
Mr.
the key
Patel.
panelists
Thank
for
you,
their-
Mr. Ramana.
Thank you, Rukas.
Yeah.
Thank you all
Thank
the
you,
key
Mr. Ramana.
panelists for their Thank you all the key panelists for your valuable insights. Now proceeding ahead, I would like to launch 2 polls back to back since we're running out of time. So I'll quickly launch a poll. I'm closing the poll now. Okay, so what is the criteria that an installer or an EPC company should consider while choosing a solar inverter brand? So we have 22% agreeing with wide MPPT range. Thank you. With this, I would quickly launch another poll. I'm closing the poll now. What is the requirements for the inverter to be suitable for Indian rooftop sector? So we have all the participants agreeing to the above. So with this, I'm ending the poll. We will be proceeding ahead with a product presentation by Mr. Shantanu Srisat, who is the technical head India Growatt. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sangeeta. Hope I'm audible to all.
Yes, sir, you are.
Okay, I'm just sharing my screen. Okay, so we had a very good discussion, a panel discussion before this particular presentation. So I think we are already running short of time. So I will be hurrying up with this particular PPT. So for this particular presentation, I will be covering basically the commercial, industrial, and the utility solutions that Growatt is offering for Indian market as well as for the global market. So the agenda for this brief market overview of the Indian market, the product portfolio. In brief, I will be giving insight of the products that we are offering, the smart solution in terms of monitoring, and a single case study with the existing product. So this is the IHS prediction that they have given for the commercial, industrial, and utility market. So as per their prediction in 2019, we have done roughly around 10 gigawatt of solar installations. And in the coming years, we are seeing a year-to-year growth of roughly around 10 to 15%. But maybe for 2020, we'll be seeing a less number of installations as compared to 2019. But we are very much hopeful that in 2021, the pending projects that were due to completed in 2020 will be shifted to 2021, and we will be seeing a very big boost in 2021, but still we are hopeful for 2020, and let's see how the situation gets good in the coming days. So when we are talking about the C&I and utility market, what are the recent market trends that we are having? Basically, the bifacial modules are having a very good demand right now for the commercial and utility as well as the industrial market. So the major advantage that we get with the bifacial module is that we can expect higher energy from its backside, around 55 to around 30% of the total generation that we were expecting earlier. And along with that, the overall life of the bifacial module is also on a higher side. And because of this, we are getting a good amount of current from the panels, maximum up to 13 amperes that the current bifacial modules that are available in the market we are getting. So due to this, we are able to reduce much more on the string side, due to which we are saving very much on the BOS on the DC cables. As well as the power rating for the bifacial modules is around more than 400 watt peak. So another added advantage that we get due to this is that we are able to accommodate more number of panels in a short available or a less amount of space. And coming to the string inverters, basically, obviously, the levelized cost is reduced considerably if you are going with higher rating of inverters. Along with that, the string inverters, those we will be using for the CN and utility application should be compatible with the SCADA system. Just like we have a discussion in the last panel regarding the requirement of third-party data logger, those should be easily compatible with any inverter brand. So due to that, the end customer or the EPC player are having a flexibility in going with any inverter brand if the protocol for the communication is open. So if we talk about Growatt inverter, we are providing an open Modbus protocol. So majorly 90% of the data loggers that are available in the market are compatible with Growatt inverters. Also, if you talk about the oversizing capability, so going with the recent trend, if you're going for the C&I and the utility market, basically we are seeing roughly an oversizing of 30% or 50% more than the rated capacity of the inverter. Basically, these also saves us in the cost of the or the number of the inverters that we are going to utilize for a particular project. Along with that, if you see the overall, what we can say, the working of a module due to the temperature, as it is, we are getting roughly around 10 to 15% loss from the panel side. So to compensate that and looking after the 25 years of plant expectancy and year-by-year degradation in the panels also, so easily if you're going for a 30 to 50% of overloading, this will definitely help you for the overall solar plant for the next 20 to 25 years. Also, with having different protection that are inbuilt in the inverter itself, the requirement of SPDs on the AC as well as DC side is being eliminated, as all these protections are being incorporated in the inverter itself. So because of this, any external AGB is not required. So this considerably reduces on your BOS cost as well. As well as when you're going with a 1500 volt system, definitely the number of strings that you are going with reduces considerably. For that matter, you can say 50% of the strings are getting reduced when you are going with any 1500 volt inverters. Along with that, we are coming up with multiple MPPTs. So when the inverter is having multiple MPPT, because of that, the shadowing due to cloudy clouds or any other factor, it will not affect the overall generation of an inverter. due to multiple MPPTs, the particular MPPT will only be affected, but the rest of the MPPTs will be running to its full capacity. So this is again a advantage that we will be getting with multi MPPTs. Along with that, smart O&M, that is the same discussion that we had in the last panel, that instead of going for any corrective actions to the site again and again, the inverter should be intelligent enough so that whatever the commands or the protection or the precautionary measure that we have to take, that can be taken remotely itself. So every time we don't have to visit the site again and again for any sort of rectification. So coming to the portfolio that Growatt is offering. So if you go for the commercial rooftop, we are having the range starting from 12 kilowatt up to 25 kilowatt. In this 12 and 15 kilowatt are in dual MPPT, whereas the 20 and 40 kilowatt inverters again are in dual MPPT. And the mid MID series that we have launched last year comes in 20 and 25 kilowatt. Whereas if you want to go for a large commercial and utility segment, then we are having MAC series with 3 MPPTs. Then there is a MAX series, Max series, which comes in 6 MPPTs as well as 7 MPPTs. And the upcoming inverter for the utility, that is the Max, which comes in 185, 250 and 253 kilowatt. So these inverter comes in 9 MPPT, 12 MPPT and 15 MPPT. So I will be just discussing regarding the advantages of these inverters, which are very much beneficial for the commercial and utility segment. So when we are talking about any good inverter, what are the major factors that we should look for? The first one is a stable. When we are talking about the stability of the inverter, it says that it should guarantee a long-term stable income in terms of functionality. Because when you are saying, when you are going for any solar power plant, the minimum life expectancy of that plant is for 25 years. So the inverter should be stable enough that it should work minimum for 25 years in all the harsh conditions that we are having. The second is the efficiency. When we are talking about the efficiency, it majorly says the maximum output gain that we are going to get from the inverter. So basically when you are talking about the efficiency, it is the conversion from your DC side to your AC side, and the inverter should be efficient enough to minimize this conversion losses to give you maximum output. And the third one is the intelligent. That is when you are going for any inverter, it should have a algorithm due to which it should be able to take the corrective actions instead of waiting for any human interference. So for the stability of any inverter, that inverter should be able to work in any harsh conditions. So if you talk about Indian conditions, the maximum temperature that we record in the state of Rajasthan is up to 50 degrees. So the inverter should be working efficiently up to this temperature range. So the inverter should have a very good working temperature range. So when we are talking about Growatt inverter, definitely we are having a ambient temperature range starting from -25 degrees up to +60 degrees. And the derating of all the inverters that we are providing for the Indian market starts from 50 degrees. The second important factor is the humidity. As India is covered by sea to almost around 40%. So basically when we are talking about the humidity, this particular parameter plays a very important role when you are going for any what we can say installation at your sea level. So the inverter should have the material due to which it should not get corroded due to the salinity present in the air. So this humidity also plays a very major role. Along with that, the altitude. We can see that in the northeastern region or in the north part of India, we are having very much hilly regions where the altitude is on a very higher side. So the inverter should work efficiently in higher altitude also. Talking about the protection, so if you see about the overall lightning striking that is happening in India, as per that report, in the monsoon area, the particular in the southern part or basically the coastal regions are getting around 1800 lightnings in that particular segment. And this lightning can cause the inverter to fail permanently. So we have to take into consideration this factor, and for that, and for this particular reason, we are providing type 2 SPDs on your AC as well as on your DC side. And these protection we are providing right from the 20 kilowatt inverter up to the 253 kilowatt. Also, for the protection on your DC side, for the arcing purpose, we are having the arc fault current interrupter. This particular circuitry is an optional one, but if you want to go for any protection for the DC arcing, we are also providing this as an optional feature in the inverter starting from 20 kilowatt onwards. And talking about the maintenance, basically, if you are having the SPDs directly integrated in your power board, then if the SPD gate fails, it is required to go for the replacement of the whole inverter, or you have to replace that particular inverter board. So what we are doing for the Growatt inverter is that we are providing a separate PCB for AC SPDs as well as for DC SPDs. So in any case, if there is any sort of failure in the SPD due to lightning or any other surge, then we only have to go for the replacement of that particular SPD board and not for the complete unit. So this helps in minimizing the after sales support time. And one more additional feature that we are coming up with all our X series inverter is that we have replaced all the conventional electrolytic capacitors that were being used for the inverters with the thin film capacitors. So because of this, the life of the inverter has increased to more than 20 years, because a conventional electrolytic capacitor has a life shell of around 5 years. Due to which you can see we are utilizing a bank of capacitors with electrolytic series. But when you are going with the thin film capacitors, the overall numbers of capacitors are also reduced, and due to which we are able to reduce the size of the PCB also, which in generally will reduce the complete size of the inverter. So coming to the MID series, that is the 20 and 25 kilowatt inverter that we are providing for the Indian market. So this inverter, we are providing the new OLED display, due to which the consumption from your DC side has reduced to around 80%. Along with that, we are providing a one-touch button, which is very much different from your conventional push button. And this button can work with 3 lakh clicks that we have tested. And also with this particular inverter series, we are able to reduce the size and the weight to less than 40% because of the polycarbonate body that we are using for this particular X series inverters. This is the same polycarbonate material that is being used in the aircrafts, in which they utilize more than 2 tons of polycarbonate material, due to which we are able to reduce the size as well as the total weight of the inverter to around 40% less. Along with that, the smart IV curve and diagnosis feature, we are providing it as a standard feature. Along with that, all these inverters, we are providing the type 2 SPDs on AC as well as on your DC side. So this is the basic advantages that we get with 20 kilowatt and 25 kilowatt inverter. This inverter gives you a maximum efficiency of 98.75%, as well as you can go with a DC overloading of around 30% more, and you can also get a AC overload of 10% on your AC side. So a 20 kilowatt inverter with a sufficient DC overloading can give you a AC output of 22 kilowatt. So again, it helps you for return on investment for your solar power plant, as well as the MPPT range that we are having for this particular series. It's from 160 volt to 1000 volts. So we are having a very low MPPT voltage range, due to which the early start and the working till late evening is possible with this particular inverter. As well as the weight of this inverter weighs only 23 kgs. So it is very easy for installation with only 2 persons. Coming on to the Max series, basically in 400 volts, we are having a range starting from 30 kilowatt up to 60 kilowatt, whereas for 480 volts, we are having a range starting from 50 kilowatt up to 70 kilowatt. So again, with this particular inverter, we are able to achieve the reduction in size and weight to around 30% less. This inverter, we are providing the anti-PID feature as an optional feature, as well as the AFCI, that is the arc fault current interrupter, as a optional feature. As well as with this inverter, we are providing the smart cooling, in which we are providing the IP68 fans for the cooling of the heatsink, which are running at a particular heatsink temperature. These fans are not continuously on, but they will get triggered at a particular inverter temperature. As well as for protection, we are providing type 2 SPDs on AC as well as DC side. Also, these inverters support the zero export limitation with Growatt smart meters. So the advantages, if we talk about the maximum efficiency that we have achieved with the Max series, is 98.8%, and the MPPT range starts from 200 volts up to 1000 volts. And with this particular inverter, we can go to a maximum overloading of 50% more. But for this particular criteria, you will have to go with a higher rating of modules. As for 60 kilowatt, we are having a maximum input of 12 strings. So if you consider 400 volts to 450 volts module rating, then easily you can go to a overloading of 50% more with this particular series. Are easily compatible with all the bifacial modules, as we are having the maximum current of 13 amperes per string. And this particular Max series, we are having all these inverters are having a weight of only 52 kgs. So in this particular MSC series, we have also incorporated the polycarbonate material, due to which we are able to reduce the weight of the inverter considerably. So this is the smart optimized design that we have implemented for the MID series and the Max series, due to which these inverters has been reduced to 40% in terms of size as well as in terms of weight. And I have mentioned earlier, with this particular inverter, we are providing a OLED display. So this is the first time in the inverter market that we are providing a OLED display for the local monitoring. And along with that, we are providing a great HMI experience with a touch button. So you can access all the parameters related with the inverter with this particular HMI or the OLED display. So this is the internal structure of the MID series and the Max series. So we are having utilizing the patented IGBT technology that we have incorporated for the upcoming X inverter series, as well as we have provided a USB port for all the inverters, through which you can carry out the local monitoring as well as the firmware upgradation. Also, for the monitoring purpose, we are having a smart cooling algorithm, which is temperature dependent. So depending on the different temperature ranges, the cooling of this inverter will take place. Now coming to the MAX series, basically the Max series that we are offering for the Indian market is from 50 kilowatt up to 80 kilowatt in 400 volts and 60 kilowatt up to 100 kilowatt in 480 volts that we are having. So there are two models that we are providing. One is with 6 MPPTs, 12 strings, and one is with 14 MPPT and 7 MPPT and 14 strings. All these inverters are coming up with the type 2 protections on AC as well as on DC side. And these inverters, we are providing the IP66 protection. And we will be going in a little bit brief about this product in the coming slides. So for this particular inverter, we are providing a sophisticated LED display. Now this display is not a conventional numerical display, but it is more on the graphical representation that we are providing. And these are all the parameters or the status that you can view directly from the display for your AC side as well as for your DC side. Now this is the upcoming inverter that we were discussing earlier. That is the 1500 volt inverter in 185 kilowatt up to 253 kilowatt. The maximum efficiency for the Max series that we have achieved is up to 99%. And this 1500 volt inverter, we are providing the night SVG function as well as the anti-PID function. And also we are coming up with the power line communication for the utility based inverters. Also for all the inverters, we are providing the Y connector feasibility. So high precision string monitoring. So with the Max series, MAX series, basically we are providing the individual string monitoring up to 30 numbers. For example, for the 400 volt inverter, we are having 14 individual string monitoring, as well as for the 1500 volts inverter, we are having the individual string monitoring up to 30 numbers. And we can get individual sampling of each and every string for all these inverters. So it becomes very easy for troubleshooting and maintenance purpose if you are going with this particular Max series. So it is very easy to point out which particular string is giving what particular error. And along with that, for the diagnosis purpose, we are providing the diagnosis through waveform recording. So you can do the recording of the waveforms for your AC as well as for your DC side for the analysis purpose. And also there is one more interesting feature for the Max series is that we are providing a triggering parameter. That is, you can set a particular parameter, for example, a voltage at 250 volts. And whenever your voltage will cross this particular threshold value, automatically the inverter will start measuring the values on your DC side and your AC side. So it becomes very easy for you to analyze that what is the performance of your inverter at a particular parameter or at a particular level. So this is some additional features that we are providing with the MX series, which are very useful for your analysis purpose as well as for your operation and maintenance purpose. And then coming up to the IV curve scanning with the new 1500 volt inverters. When you are going for any sort of IV curve analysis, we are providing you around 14 different kind of faults and 3 different kind of complex issues related with the shading, dusting, or with the module itself at the inverter level itself. So when you are going for any IV curve diagnosis with the new 1500 volt inverter, you can get the analysis report and see that which particular inverter is giving you which type of error for your DC side. And if you are talking about for a complete plant, then the analysis will be given in form of this pie chart, in which due to shading effect, you are having some kind of issues, or there is any sort of open circuit, or the panel is open or dust, or all these particular factors we have integrated with all the faults that we have earlier faced with all the Growatt inverters. So this is a new algorithm that we will be implementing with our 1500 volt inverter, and lately we will be implementing this for all our X series inverters in the coming future. And also we are providing anti-PID module in the Max inverter and for all the series as an optional feature. So basically the main use of the anti-PID is to reduce the potential induced degradation at the module level. So there are two different options. The PID can work only at the night time as per your requirement, or throughout the day. And those settings can be done rightly in the inverter itself, but it is an optional feature and needs to be told to our salesperson before placing the order, because the inverters that we are having in the Indian market right now are without the anti-PID module. But as per your requirement, we can provide you all the inverters with anti-PID module inbuilt in the inverter itself. You don't have to go for any external box for anti-PID. Which will again increase your costing for your cabling, and again any separate place has to be defined for this anti-PID module. This anti-PID module will be a part of the inverter itself.
Mr. Shantanu, we are really running out of time, so you
Yes,
need to
yes,
be
yes.
a little quick, please.
Yes. Definitely, yes. And we are supporting the aluminum cable for our AC side. So for Max series, up to 70 and 95 square mm cable you can use for 400 volts, and 1500 you can go up to 240 square mm cable. And also you can implement a Y connector. So because of this, you can considerably save on your DC cabling cost when you are going for the Growatt inverters. And also the night SVG, that is the static var generator, we are providing it as an optional feature right now for the 1500 volts inverter itself, in which it is possible for you to inject 60% of the rated or the nominal value of the inverter in terms of reactive power to the grid during the night time. And most of our Max inverters are with two inputs itself. So it is basically a fuseless design. So you don't have to go for any additional fuses at the exterior of the inverter. So these are some of the installation with our Max inverters for rooftop as well as for the ground mounted. And for the monitoring, we are providing individual dongles for the monitoring purpose, or Shine Master for data logging. Up to 64 number of inverters you can connect with that. So this is just an overview using our Shine Master data logger for utility as well as for the commercial segment. This I have already shared with you. We are having a dedicated application as well as a portal for the monitoring. Again, we are providing the solution for self-consumption or zero export. For local monitoring, we are providing on a case-to-case basis a USB dongle for local monitoring, in which directly you can connect your smartphone with the inverter through Wi-Fi, and all the related information or the parameters related with the inverter are available on your smartphone in this way. So all the logs or any sort of parameters change you have to carry out, you can do it locally also if your inverter is not available for the monitoring on our portal. And for distributor and the installer, we are providing a special online smart service portal with which it is possible for the installer and the distributor to monitor all the plants that they have installed with our Growatt inverters. This is an overview for remote configuration also.
Shantanu, we are really running Out of time.
Yes.
I have other panel speakers waiting.
Okay, this is the third party SCADA compatibility and overall SLD for our 1500 volts inverter. So this was just a small case study. Maybe if you are having any doubts regarding the inverters, you can get my number and we can directly have a one-to-one correspondence. So this is from my side. Thank you very much, Sangeeta. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shantanu. Since we are running out of time, I'll quickly introduce you to the next panel speakers that we have with us. Mr. Pradeep Srikantan, who's the Vice President, Renington, who would be moderating this session. Mr. Lucas Wang, General Manager, Asia Pacific, Growatt. We also have Mr. Dipankar Pal, who is the MD and co-founder, Rooftop Energy. They would be giving us a glimpse on robust supply chain management, pan-India footprint. Over to you, sir. Mr. Pradeep Shrikant.
Yeah, hi. I'll share my. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You're very much audible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I would like.
Quite clear now.
Yeah. So welcome. I would welcome all the speakers here. Mr. Dipankar, Mr. Rukas Wang, and Mr. Shantanu. I think we are four are here on the panel. So I would like to start with asking a question to Mr. Dipankar, since Mr. Dipankar is already from the Rooftop EPC. It's a EPC firm. So would like to understand based on your experiences, because we are here discussing about supply chain. How is supply chain impacting the solar business, solar industry per se? And specifically, since you are from the solar EPC company, so probably we would like to hear your views on what challenges, whether it is a small, big, or a medium-sized challenge, whatever the kind of challenges that you have faced in your experience as an EPC company. So where do you think you have really had a bad experience or a good experience with respect to the supply chain in your project execution, in your procurement per se? So if you can just put your give your thoughts on that.
Yeah, good evening to Growatt and First View and all the panelists and also the attendees. Yeah, I'm Dipankar. You know, I was quite impressed with Shantanu's passion during the presentation, and it was exciting to see him working very hard through the customers and trying to make it through to sell his product. The supply chain management of solar businesses essentially revolving around imports. If you have panels and inverters which are predominantly imported, if not at first-hand level, but at least for example, we have added 9.5 to 10 gigawatt last year in the country, and our local manufacturing of modules is only less than 6 gigawatt, and our cell manufacturing is less than 3 gigawatt. So naturally, the whole ecosystem revolves around import of components. In addition to the import dependence, the other thing that we see, the balance of systems, the distribution of the services, etc., across the country, they are gradually improving. They are getting better by the day. We have, for example, more number of structure manufacturers, more number of all other equipment suppliers who are related to solar directly and indirectly, even the trackers, etc., who are gradually now getting more rationalized in the system. The whole ecosystem is fiercely competitive, and hence the supply chain management in the system has to be with razor fine accuracy. You cannot afford to lose money there. Time is the essence, and you have to also reach the customer the best products in terms of quality. Having said that, there are two things that I see which has happened recently in India, which probably will put a strong footprint in the supply chain management system. One is, recently SECI had a tender of 1200 megawatt, which required guaranteed supply of peak power. Now, this required solar plant along with storage to be provided. And we saw some exciting prices, some exciting participation there. And we also saw that the storage is probably cross-subsidized along with the solar plant. I see this going to expand in the CNI segment quite strongly in the coming years, and the whole ecosystem of supply chain revolving around this. Storage will become more and more important. The second thing that I noticed recently, or which is actually becoming, which was there in the past, and is now becoming quite strongly coming quite strongly in the system, is the Kusum Yojana. What will happen through this Kusum Yojana is more than 27.5 lakhs of solar water pumps probably will reach the farmers. And this will empower the farmers to increase their income and things like that. And the government is going to be quite supportive. What will happen in this Kusum Yojana is that the distribution, the value that the supply chain management creates, the distribution process create, it will start reaching rural India more effectively. And as we go forward more and more with our CNI efforts, we will see the ecosystem aligning also with this solar water pump business in the coming years. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Deepan. So I think there are a few questions which I was able to see in the Q&A panel. So out of which I would like to put some of those questions to Rukas for his inputs. One is whether Growatt is planning to start any manufacturing in India. That is one question. And second question, there was another question which says, are you changing your strategy in terms of offerings post-COVID? So we are now seeing COVID, which is currently underway, and we don't know when it is going to actually completely come out. So is there any specific strategy that Growatt is thinking about post-COVID? And whether what is your plans for manufacturing in India? So probably these two questions were something that the participants would want to hear from you. So Rukas, if you can give some inputs on these. I think Rukas, you have to unmute. You have to unmute yourself.
So Rukas, please unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you so much, Pradeep, for your question. Regarding your first one, we also understand, the policy of making in India, and we also understand, it's really necessary sooner or later to have a local setup. Right now we got local setup, but it's local manufacturing units. Actually, since end of 2018. We already started, evaluation for certain companies, and we already have this kind of plan. We have visited, the private companies. We also have discussed. Hello, is it audible?
Yeah, it's audible.
All right, okay. We also have a check, certain, the government officials as well to understand, where's the most suitable places for us to look to have a local setup. Or we direct have everything ourselves, or we cooperate with certain experienced companies to get together. We got the manufacturing units. We have done this kind of evaluation right now. The manufacturing units for Growatt still not yet started in India, but we are closely watching the movement of the new policy and also the movement from other competitors, because as you can see, for the string inverters, especially for the rooftop part of the string inverters, the price war is very, very, we can say, because, Pradeep, you are in a distribution channel, you understand, the price war is everywhere, and it's very, very fierce, competitions. So in this case, all the market from the manufacturer to all the channel players, it's the cost matters quite a lot. We, according to our evaluation, for the string inverters, only when the volume is really, really big, then we are able to bring down the cost, when we manufacture in India, because in manufacturing in India, we understand the labor cost, and also the facility cost maybe a little cheaper, but because all the supply chain is not there, you have to establish a full supply chain. This means you have to invest a lot in manpower and time to try and to establish. So this will in a lot of cost. The cost here means the cost for raw materials, the delivery cost, or the availability for you to find. This will also new costs will also incur. So as per our understanding right now, for the inverter, especially for the small string inverters, the cost is very, very crucial. Right now, making in India, at this stage, we still cannot guarantee we are able to supply the inverter at the same cost. That's the reason we keep on watching. And the good thing is that if we decide, we can immediately, suppose, in Q1, we decide to go for making in India with the available local partners with experience, in manufacturing and assembly. We can start, actually, we decide in Q1, we can start in Q2. So this won't be an issue. We keep very close, watching on policy and the movement from, the competitor. So once we decide to go in this way, definitely we will notify, the market in a very formal way about making in India. And the second, your second question regarding, the COVID, because, this epidemic, this really bring a lot of challenge, to the supply chain, not only, for the local players like in India, from the distributor, from the EPC, from the integrator, everyone, they have to recalculate, the time, the availability of the products. Even, it bring a lot of challenge to our suppliers, because we are also limited by a lot of our own suppliers, like all the components. Right now, the how to say, the availability of the raw materials, and also the time span is the COVID brings a lot of uncertainty. So my kind of suggestion to all the players, all the channel players, from distributor to integrators, that if you have a demand, you better communicate with your suppliers at an early phase. Maybe you do not take them at the beginning, but because of this uncertainty, they are like, even the distributor take the goods, it will be stopped in the custom for quite a long time. So in this case, everything has to be planned, much earlier. Maybe you do not place order direct to your supplier, but you have to start the communication in an earlier phase, so that you understand when you can have all those things with you. And in terms of Growatt, what we're gonna do that, to help our distributor, to help our, the local clients, we will try to maintain certain amount, the local stock, so that the distributor, or the big EPC players, they can relatively to take the goods in a faster way. This is what we are trying to do those days.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Lukas. Yeah, so to add to on the top of what Mr. Deepankar and Mr. Lukas has just now provided the inputs with respect to the supply chain. So based on our experience, since we are into distribution, we have seen that even after we have a very robust Redington being a very organized distribution company, we have a very robust supply chain management, which we have built over so many years. After having such a very robust supply chain, still we are facing challenges in terms of delivering to the last mile consumer, because normally any system integrator who wants to buy an inverter or a panel would prefer it to be delivered to the project site, because today not all system integrators have warehouses or places to stock the products or the components. So, and all these projects, if you look at the projects that are getting implemented, they are all, most of them, they are in tier 2, tier 3 cities, remote locations, sometimes where the major courier companies, the national or international courier companies operating in India do not have a reach. They say this is not in our. Most of the time, we hear that they say this particular pin code is not in our delivery areas, because they have a list of locations where they have the deliveries. So they find it difficult to reach to those locations. So the point that I'm trying to make here is, it's very important that system integrators or the EPC companies have to plan well in advance, work out their projections properly, and talk to their suppliers, considering the fact that there is delay at every stage today in the supply chain, starting from the manufacturer producing the product. Of course, even much beyond the manufacturer, if you go, the manufacturer supply chain is also affected, because the components that go into the inverter probably comes from different countries. The inverter comes from one country, the components come from different countries. So there is a challenge everywhere, at every point in the supply chain. So it's important that, considering the fact that the EPC companies are putting their money on the table, the end user is already investing. So everybody is at stake. Everybody's money, the investments are at stake at every level. So it's important that there is very good proper coordination throughout the supply chain. And this is something the system integrators have to understand, that okay, supply chain is not just getting an inverter to my location or a panel to my location. So many things that a supply chain company has to go through. So with these inputs, probably I would like to ask a final question to Mr. Deepankar. In your experience as an EPC company, after executing so much projects, can you point out any component of the solar power plant which you think is very critical and has the highest issues with the supply chain? And yes, you have faced certain issues with particular component or components, and which you already have faced some issues, which you would want to share it with our EPC community or system integrated community, so that they can also be aware of it. I think you have to unmute.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The whole value chain is extremely competitive. There is a situation of oversupply, and hence, getting products at a competitive price is not a challenge at this point of time, although the market is growing. The main challenge we have always faced with the modules, and primarily the imported modules. There are so many uncertainties around them. The cost of the foreign exchange cost is a major challenge, the volatility. Sometimes for smaller projects, you don't want to hedge for every other project, and the second part related to the modules is, the efficiency of the ports. Although I must say, I come from a ports management background, and I must say that the Indian ports have grossly improved. Earlier, if you wanted to export a product from Odisha, you had to go to Mumbai, but at least now you can go to Paradip. I mean, these kind of, in the last 4 or 5 years, there has been a tremendous improvement. The ports have improved, the roads have improved. the GST system, although with some stress and lacunae, has still made a lot of things in the logistic business quite easier. So it is the management of the modules, which in my opinion is the key driver for the EPC business. If the modules are imported, particularly, then it becomes a major. You have to consider that seriously. There are other equipment like inverters and structures, etc., which are widely available, and I don't see that as a challenge. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Deepankar. Thank you.
Yeah.
So with this, I think we are done with the Q&A session and the session for this particular time. So over to you, Sangeeta.
Thank you all the key panelists for all the valuable insights. With this, we would be ending the webinar for now. Thank you all the key speakers. Thank you all the attendees for attending this webinar. We'll keep you posted with upcoming webinars. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Solokota. Thank you, Mr. Pradeep, and thank you, Deepankar. Thank you, Mr. Deepankar. Thank you so much.
Very nice.
Thank you all the solar professionals to join us. Thank you so much for your valuable time.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you all the speakers.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.